All right, let's get to Eliot Shorr-Parks. He's brought to us by Colonial Hyundai. Shop online 24/7 at colonialhyundai.com. Colonial Hyundai, the fast, easier, better way to buy a Hyundai. Eliot, good morning, bud.
What up? How you guys doing this
Quite
morning?
a bit. I don't know if we have enough time here to cover it all, but let's start with yesterday. We'll get to Sunday, but let's start with yesterday. You're in the locker room. Eagles players are there, not all, but most. Take us inside what you saw, what you heard. Obviously, they've got to meet with coaches, but they also meet with the media. That's those that do. Mm-hmm. What caught your eye? What caught your ear?
Yeah, there was definitely, I think, more of a sense of shock than most years. You know, I've covered a bunch of these locker room clean-out days, and normally the team is kind of, you know, they can feel what's coming with it, right? Like either whether that's where they win the Super Bowl, the collapse, all those things. I think there was a sense of shock in the locker room yesterday talking to the players. There was definitely disappointment. I'll also give the players credit. Like they almost every single player that talked about how the execution on their end could have been better, right? And they kept pointing the fingers at themselves. Jalen did it. Saquon did it. The defensive guys even did it. Like every guy that talked pointed the finger at themselves. So there was definitely a sense of disappointment in how the players kind of handled the season and their execution.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
I would just say the highlight obviously would probably be Jalen. He spoke. He was asked about if he wanted Kevin Patullo back. Kind of gave just a stock answer on that. He was asked about A.J. Brown. Did note that they had talked, and he said they were in a good place, which is definitely good to hear after, you know, all the kind of speculation and talk over the past 2 years. But I would also say, like, what was interesting about Jalen talking is it was almost as if he was talking as if Patullo was already gone, right? Talking about, like, you know, the benefit of continuity, but how even if they don't have continuity next year, they'll have to get results either way.
Yeah, and Eliot, another thing, Chris, AJ did not talk, but can you detail, I know you put it up on social media, the message that he had for Quinyon at Quinyon's locker?
Yeah, that's the funny thing about AJ. Like, I think the perception on the outside is just so different than the guy that I think reporters see Monday through Friday in the locker room and that teammates talk about with AJ. Like, he left a jersey outside of Quinyon's locker. It said, you know, to Q, very proud of you for your all-pro season. Cooper DeJean talked a lot yesterday about how he wouldn't be the player he is today without AJ and AJ helping him after practice and running routes against him and stuff like that. So, you know, no question about it. Like, AJ brings a lot of this on himself for sure with like the social media posts and different things. But it's just interesting always to be someone that's in the building and sees one version of AJ versus how he's kind of discussed and viewed outside the building.
And what is the general consensus on what happened during the game, Eliot? You know, people know AJ. They understand that he's, you know, impetuous at times or fiery or whatever you want to call it. But what's the company line? I mean, are people actually buying the fact that Nick said he was just trying to get him off the field to punt the ball?
So that's my understanding is that's definitely what happened. Like, Jordan Mailata was right there when it happened. Mailata was part of it. Like, Nick was yelling at both of them to get off the field. Mailata had ran down the field to walk off the field with AJ because he saw AJ walking slow. And I think he wanted to go to kind of like be like, come on, man, like, you know, pick it up. You know, we'll do better, that type of thing, and walk off the field. Obviously, Nick runs down the field and yells at him. You can certainly debate if that was the right way to handle it by Nick. And then AJ snapped back. Now, I think there is no question about it that the interaction there clearly had a lot of frustration in it, right? I do genuinely believe that Nick and AJ have a good relationship just from knowing both of them and the way they talk about each other, knowing how much they talk. Like, I believe Nick when he says that they're in a good place, but it was absolutely an ugly interaction. And I asked Saquon after the game, you know, what was the sideline like? Because he has talked about how at times this year the sideline mood has been terrible on the offensive side of the ball. And he said more of the same, essentially. And I think you saw in that interaction, there's a lot of frustration on the offensive side of the ball.
So how likely is it that AJ will be gone as a result of all the clashing?
Yeah, I think there's a good chance AJ will be gone, but there's a lot of factors in this, right? One, I think Jalen's answer yesterday was noteworthy, right? Like, he's in a good place with AJ. He smiled about it, so I think that's a positive. There's the reality of what AJ's trade value is. Now, there will be a desperate team out there that will probably overpay, but if you're the Eagles, are you giving AJ up for a second-round pick, for a third-round pick? Like, what's the level of return you need to make it worth it? And I don't have a firm answer yet on the clear cap implications of trading AJ, but they will lose cap space if they trade AJ, and it's not going to be a few $1 million. It's going to be somewhat substantial. So I think that this offense definitely needs like a freshness, some new blood, and I think that moving on from AJ could be one way to do that, but I don't think it's as clear cut as he's unhappy, so they'll trade him.
Elliot, and by the way, it's 94 WIP HD1 Philadelphia as we broadcast today from the Tasty Cake studio. Elliot with us wrapping up the year. So, Elliot, yesterday our poll question was, who do you blame more for the Eagles' offensive struggles, coaches or players? And coaches won it going away with 85%. 15% were with me on Hammer Island, which says the players were, I thought, way more responsible. Where would you come down voting on that? Coaches or players more culpable?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the players. Obviously, Sirianni holds blame for everything that goes on the field, and they did not reach expectations this year. I think if you want to point fingers at the coaches, it would be for the sloppiness. It would be for the penalties. It would be that type of stuff, right? But ultimately, the season on the line, Jalen Hurts had two, I would say, off-target throws to AJ and Devontae, two catchable passes, but two off-target throws, and then AJ and Devontae didn't come down with those plays. And, that is what it is. The season, I feel like there's this perception that the offense was terrible on Sunday. They really weren't. They had 2 touchdowns on the first 3 drives. They had almost 200 yards in the first half. On the final drive of the game where they needed to go down the field, guys were open on every single play besides the final one. And I know there's a lot of focus on this 4th down play. If Devontae catches the pass on 3rd down, there is no 4th down play, right? So for sure, Patullo, that final play, you can get on him about that. No one was open there. It wasn't a good play. But he got guys open on every single play besides that one. And so when I think back to this season, was anybody good enough? No. Sirianni wasn't. Patullo wasn't. And if Patullo loses his job, if you're this far down in points, you can't really complain. But I think more about the offensive line not playing well, Jalen's accuracy taking a major step back this year, A.J. Brown not having a good year. How on the offense really played well? So
how much of that has to do with the coaches? How much will be clean shop in terms of if Patullo is gone, will other coaches, other assistants also be shown the door?
Yeah, so look, I think if I'm assuming you're in the camp of coaching, but if we're going to blame the coaches, then what about Stoutland, right? I don't hear Stoutland's name get brought up at all. The offensive line was nowhere near as good. The yards before contact this year for Saquon were way worse than they were the year before.
Absolutely.
I don't think Stoutland forgot how to scheme up a running game. We all agree he is one of, if not the best offensive line coaches of all time. So when I think about things like that, I think the coaches know how to scheme up a running game. So why do I think they couldn't run the ball? I don't think it was coaching, right? And then I think about Jalen not running the ball. Do we truly believe, we honestly believe, the coaches decided this year they didn't want to run Jalen? There's no shot of that, right? So every indication points to that it's the players. And by the way, when the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I didn't hear people week after week after week last year calling in and talking about what an amazing job Kellen Moore was doing. I heard people talking about the offensive line was great, and this is the best we've ever seen Saquon, and Jalen's making big throws and all that, right? So it's always the players. When it's the coaches and we don't want to point fingers at the players that we like it's convenient, but ultimately the players are the one on the field making the plays, and I think the Eagles coaches have a long enough track record of showing they can scheme stuff open that the players just didn't have a good year. And
I don't know.
It's
Do
disappointing. They? Well, yeah, Patullo was on.
I don't know that that's a track record.
The...
Kevin Patullo's track record is this offense.
He never called plays before. What are you talking about,
but
dude?
Elliot, it really was the same offense, and they just couldn't run the ball this year. And when they needed to,
Devontae Smith said straight up, what was the problem this year? He was asked, did the scheme give you an advantage, right? And he was like, it's the same scheme we've always had. We didn't execute.
Yep.
And again, look at the final drive. AJ is open. Devontae is open. On the first 4th down of the drive, he got Goddard open, right? I'm not sitting here and saying it's the most creative offense in the world, but to act like no guys are open and that they're at this huge disadvantage is not true. They won a Super Bowl with this scheme the year before. They made the Super Bowl 2 years ago with this scheme, right? So, I agree. It was a disappointing year, but the issue was not as much the coaching scheme. They were sloppy. They were undisciplined. Get on the coaches for that.
That is
there
on
were
the
plays
coaches,
to
too.
be. I agree with you, but that's very different than saying they can't scheme guys open. They can clearly scheme guys
I agree.
open.
So, Elliot, one thing that John and I have had a tug of war about really for a couple of years, and it's going to resurface now in the offseason, is Do they run the type of plays they run because they think that's what Jalen is best at? And by the way, what he wants. And then if they were to try something else, something really else, like the West Coast offense or any number of other types of offenses, would it work? Where do you come down on why they've coached him the way they have or run the plays the way they've had, and if they try something else, whether it'll work?
Yeah, so first I would say, because I heard you guys talking about it when I was on hold, and I think it's an interesting point, right? You look at what Ben Johnson has done for Caleb Williams, right? Last year, Caleb Williams was not that good. Ben Johnson gets here. Caleb Williams is awesome, right? And I think Ben Johnson deserves credit for that. But let's not forget, the Eagles already did that with Jalen Hurts. Like from 20 to 21 to 22, this coaching staff, Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, Jeff Stoutland, right? They
Shane
already
Steichen.
had Jalen. Yeah, for sure. Shane Steichen was involved in that, absolutely, right? But so was Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo. Like, he was there as well, right? Brian Johnson helped develop him, who everyone wanted to fire as well. So, they've already developed Jalen, and Jalen deserves credit for it, too. He works hard and all that stuff. But this coaching staff already had Jalen take the leap that Ben Johnson had Caleb Williams take. So now the question is, can there be another leap, right? And I also think there's this perception that, it's a bad thing that they coach around Jalen. I don't know how many people have to say it out of that building, how many reports have to come out, how many players have to say it. Yes, what they do is based around Jalen, but that is what a coach is supposed to do. Every offense in the NFL. Yes, exactly. Every single offense in the NFL is built around the quarterback's strengths and weaknesses. You would be somewhat of a fool to build an offense around a quarterback or around a skill set that your quarterback doesn't have. Now, does that mean they can't do more things? Yes, they can try it, right? But if the game plan going into next year is let's come up with this super creative offense full of stuff Jalen's never done and see how it works, that's a pretty risky strategy. It could work, or you could get 2 games into the season, kind of like they did in 24, and have to completely pivot. So
totally agree.
I agree. It could be better, but it's work.
Eliot, one more thing on this point, then we'll get to some other stuff. I want to play some audio of LaShawn McCoy from his podcast. This was after the loss 2 days ago. And LaShawn really, in many ways, laid Jalen out bare when he presented this.
I did a lot of digging, man. And I won't throw them under the bus here, but I know some people, right? And the problem is we can't do different exotic looks, different formations, different motions, because I'm hearing that he can't really do it.
I mean, listen, whether it's accurate or not, and I happen to think it is likely accurate.
And then it's the coach's job to teach him.
Well,
here's
what I would say about that. I firmly believe that everyone mostly everyone in the building believes that, right? I honest to God think if you pulled the players and the coaches and asked, why does the offense look the way it does, more people would say Jalen than Patullo, and I don't even think it would be close, right? But I would also say this, that the finger pointing at Jalen is also unfair, right? Now all of a sudden it's all Jalen's fault. Okay, well then was it all Jalen when they won the Super Bowl in 24? Was it all Jalen in 22?
Did Donovan McNabb teach himself? Andy Reid taught Donovan McNabb to be great and built the offense around his skill set.
Yeah, but
how is this different?
But Donovan went from receiver 1 to 2 to 3 a lot better, and had a much better arm.
Where we disagree is the Eagles have already done that for Jalen, right? Jalen's 5 years into his career. He's won
6.
And now you have to do it again.
6 years into his career.
Agreed.
You never stop learning. The defenses never stop changing.
I agree with that. But I feel like what you're saying is that the Eagles have not helped Jalen, or that they're not coaching him or developing him.
No, the right offensive coordinators have helped Jalen. And we've gone to the Super Bowl as a result.
Hold on, Eliot, hang on 1 second. John, because they could run the ball, and his job was to generally hand it off.
It's both.
Nah, but it's primarily that. But
Jalen's also really developed as a passer. Jalen was a second-round pick, where that Nick Saban moved on from at Alabama, right, that went to Oklahoma, still went in the second round. The Eagles, for what it's worth, drafted him to be a backup. They tried to trade him after 2021. This coaching staff has won with him and turned him into an excellent, arguably top 7, top 6 quarterback. So I feel I agree with you, John. They do need to take a next step. But where I disagree with you is this staff has already developed Jalen. And you point out Andy teaching Donovan the West Coast offense. this staff has also helped Jalen in that regard over his career. Now
No
it's about
question.
the next step in being better.
All right, Elliot, let's do a couple.
But they have to challenge him more
I
than
agree.
they did this
But
year.
they have. They have, though.
Well, they need to do a better job.
All right,
with it
Elliot,
then.
couple quick hitters. I got a few different dudes to move through, so let's just do our best to move fast if you don't mind.
Yes.
Gut feeling, on the team next year or not? Nakobe Dean.
Not on the team.
Dallas Goedert.
On the team.
On the team?
I think they'll bring
How
him
much
back,
are they
yeah.
going to pay him?
Interesting. Yeah, he can't make a ton. He's got a block.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I disagree with you on that
Well,
one.
he might be their best offensive player, so
Well,
you might have to
If he
pay
blocks
him. Yeah.
differently than
Yeah.
he blocked this year,
All right, Jalen Phillips.
I would say
No.
on the team, but I'm more 50-50 with that one.
Reed Blankenship, who's a free agent for those that don't know.
I think on the team if the market is low, but I don't think they'll pay him big money.
A.J. Brown.
Off the team.
Okay. Does Jalen Carter get his big contract this year, or do they make him prove it another year? He's eligible for it in 2 months, but do they say, hey, dude, don't really trust you, not happy with the season, come back, give us year 4, we'll figure it out after that?
Yeah, so that's the interesting thing. Like him, Jordan Davis, and Moro Ojomo are not free agents, but are arguably the 3 biggest contracts they have to deal with this offseason. So I think they will pay Jalen Carter. I think they will pay.
no.
I think they will pay Jordan Davis, and I think there's a good chance
This
they pay
offseason?
Moro Ojomo.
wow.
Yeah.
I'd be
Well,
really
first of all,
surprised. But
Jalen
I do
Carter-
like the all or nothing mentality. Like if you're going to do one of these guys, you got to be moving on all these guys to some degree.
Well, not
That's
really.
sort of why it makes it hard.
Well, if you lose one, you don't want to lose.
I'm
the
just
other
saying
two, so.
those other. I'm just saying like they're all in the same boat, and if you give that big deal to one of them, are the others going to be like, hey, wait? Seriously?
Maybe. Well, that's the NFL and free agency.
I know.
Hey, Elliot, good work all season. Obviously, we'll talk to you later this week. Things are going to remain hot. Thanks, pal.